Hi, everyone, and welcome to another live episode of Visual Studio Toolbox. I'm your host, Leslie Richardson, and today we, of course, are going to be exploring yet another cool set of features that have just recently come out in Visual Studio. If you were watching the live stream from about 2 weeks ago, where we highlighted cool features in 17.7, and you also read the corresponding blog post, which you should check out, you might have noticed there was some missing C++ features that we didn't highlight there, despite it having a giant section in the blog post. And that's because we're going to dedicate a whole episode today talking about what's new with C++ as it relates specifically to the Unreal game engine that has been integrated into Visual Studio. So game developers, this is for you. And as always, feel free to ask any related questions that you might have about the features that we're going to explore. So joining me today is somebody who's not a stranger to this show. I'm joined once again by David Lee from the C++ team. Hey, David.
Hey, Leslie. How's it going?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm super excited to show everyone what we've been working on in the past few months. There has been a lot of movement in Unreal Engine integrations in Visual Studio. So yeah, I can't wait to show all the cool things.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it too. Shoot, I don't do much game development, but as a gamer, I'm always fascinated to see like the tools that people are working with in order to make them happen. And I'm excited to see how Visual Studio is making it easier for folks to be able to do their game development. So
Exactly. Visual Studio will make it easier for you to develop Unreal Engine games, both in terms of productivity and performance. Leslie, why don't we show everyone some of the performance improvements we have been working on lately?
yeah, let's do it. Cool. All right, zoom in here.
All right. So as you can see, the C++ team has been working really hard on making Visual Studio load faster for Unreal Engine projects. There's a few cases that we measured. We did this on a AAA Unreal Engine 5 game, so it's definitely a real world game with the real world code base, not a sample project. And we measured the improvements from last year, around May to this year's summer. So between four or five releases from 17.2 to 17.6. And I think the biggest improvement that we have worked on is parsing your C++ solution code for the first time. So this is when you just clone something from Git or Perforce. You just pull down a new branch, and Visual Studio is seeing it for the very first time. Or if you're just opening up your game on a different machine. So it used to take almost 300 seconds. That's about 5 minutes. We heard a lot of feedback about developers wishing this process to go a lot faster. So this is one of the areas we worked on. So in the latest version of Visual Studio 2022 in 17.7, the time has gone down to almost a minute and a half. So
Nice.
this is about 3.5 times faster. Isn't that amazing, Leslie?
Yeah, that is crazy. I love seeing I just love seeing graphs like this in general. Just massive improvements. 5 minutes down to 1 minute. That just shades up a ton of time.
Yeah, and of course there's other scenarios that we are also looking at. As you see here, there's a incremental improvement for loading the solution code for the first time, and also loading the solution warm. So that's the second time or third time after all the indexing the solution has finished. So this isn't all of these areas are areas that we're continuously focusing on. So this won't be the last time I come here and say how much faster Visual Studio has gotten. As games and Unreal Engine evolve in complexity and size, Visual Studio is here to make your experience faster. Let's go on the next slide.
All right.
So as you can see here, there's some of the other scenarios that we've been focusing on. First is the solution close, code, and warm. So this is when you close the solution, when you exit Visual Studio. The time it takes for your solution to close, it's almost twice as fast. Um, so even though the actual numeric values for these are not as big as we've seen previously at the parse C++ solution code, this is an area that we heard from game developers that, especially those are switching between solutions, switching between games, that even if we shave down a few seconds over a course of the day, your time savings do add up. Lastly, there's also improvements in colorization and search. So the time it takes for your code to be colorized, as well as how fast the search has gotten.
Awesome. This is really exciting to see. I think something as simple as closing your solutions, that's a nice improvement, because it's those little things that you do on a regular basis that might start to add up in terms of perf. So
Yeah, exactly. We heard from a tech director who goes through all of their studio's games. They have to open up multiple games throughout the day. So this is why we decided to focus on this area.
awesome. So I do have a question from chat. It's asking, this is in regards to, I think, the solution loading slide. So how much memory does it take after load?
That is a good question. So I'm actually not too sure how much memory Visual Studio uses. I think it depends on the intensity of your solution, your code base. But hey, good thing is Visual Studio 2022 is now 64-bit. So you have a lot more memory to play with. A lot of the old issues you have, everyone's been seeing with the VS 2019, a lot of memory issues have gone away. So if that's what you're worried about, rest assured, the switch over to 64-bit definitely helped, especially in large code bases like Unreal Engine.
Sweet. They followed up with need to know before they order their UE5 dev machine. So
great. So great. Please let us know what machine you end up with. Just as an FYI, the machine that we do these tests on we got the specs from our partner studios, and we make sure that as we're capturing these performance metrics, the real world simulation, like the scenarios, are as close as we can get. So these are definitely all measured on game dev machines.
exciting. Sweet. Well, perf improvements are always great. So all of these can be found in 17.7 and beyond?
Yep. This every release we have incremental improvements, but the ones you can see on the screen, they have been added in 17.6. So if you're on 17.7, you're definitely benefiting from all of the performance improvements.
Great. Awesome. Yeah. So if you're someone who is usually a version behind, you're in luck when it comes to the perf stuff at the very least, because that is available in 17.6, which is exciting. So yeah, let's talk about some other features. And these upcoming features, are those all 17.7?
Yeah, so we have quite some features that some of them are available in 17.7. And since 17.7 has been GA roughly 2 weeks ago. But I will also be showing a few preview features that can be only found in 17.8 Preview 1.
Very exciting.
But before I do that, I want to thank everyone and stress the importance of feedback. We have heard a lot of these suggestions from developer community, from the surveys, from Twitter comments. There's so many sources of feedback that we keep track of, and it's all thanks to you, the community. So yeah, please continue to talk to us. Tag me on Twitter when there's an issue on Visual Studio. So yeah.
All right, awesome. So let's jump in, because I think you've got a lot to show.
Yeah. So the first thing that I want to show is find all references for blueprints. Last time I was here, Leslie, we showcased the first time that game developers are able to see blueprints in Visual Studio. This time, we have extended that capability to allow you to search for blueprints without leaving Visual Studio.
Sweet.
And this is actually one of the features that do require our Unreal Engine plugin. I have a handy aka.ms link. So if you see on the screen, this is the Unreal plugin that you need to install in order to make any blueprint function work in Visual Studio. You can either install it to your engine, or depending on your folder structure, we have provided a great source of documentation that will take you step by step of how to install the Unreal Engine plugin. So let's take a look at this. Let's say you're a game dev, right? Your friends over there, a level design and gameplay design, has created a bunch of blueprints. All right, your blueprints look great. It runs well in the game, but now it's time to refactor and remove blueprint references and remove blueprints so everything can run in C++. And to do so, to see when you figure, hey, I don't know how many references this still has, you can right-click your blueprint reference and see here, find all blueprint references. If you click that, Visual Studio will start searching for your blueprint references.
I don't actually see, was there a context menu that was supposed to pop up there?
Yeah, you don't see the context menu?
I didn't see it.
Okay, well, no. It's that's okay. I have another entry point to show you too. Ooh. So if you right-click on your blueprint reference, right under the original find out references, there's an added option for find all blueprint references. But if you hover over the list of blueprints, we have added a different entry point that doesn't require the context menu. So if you're looking through all your blueprint references, this is another place to see it. So once you click on this, Visual Studio will start looking for your blueprint references. Now, keep in mind, this is an expensive operation because it searched through your entire Unreal Engine project.
That's pretty nice. Yeah, nice and handy. So before that existed, you just kind of had to know.
Yeah, you just kind of had to know, or you have to go back to the Unreal editor, and still you kind of have to connect the dots. But here we made it easy for you that you can search for a reference, and it will show all your references here. And awesome. It'll tell you the asset, which you asset file is in, and which project if you have more projects.
Sweet. I'm assuming you can also be redirected to that particular file if you were to double click on it or something, right?
Not currently, because developers typically don't open U assets from Visual Studio. But if we hear enough feedback, then it is something that we could consider.
Sweet.
Great. So that was blueprints. Now, the next thing that I want to show you is the Unreal Engine naming convention. So,
and in reference to blueprints, we did have a whole episode, folks, where we discussed blueprints and all the latest updates with them a couple months ago, I think. So, yeah. So if you tune back into this video on demand in a couple of days, then the show notes should be updated with a link back to that video, as well as other resources that we might talk about on this particular episode. So stay tuned for that.
Exactly. You can always watch the previous episode, as well as the link that you've seen on the screen. It takes you to Microsoft Learn. So we'll give you some samples to work through of how the blueprint integration works in Visual Studio.
Awesome.
Great. So next, I want to talk about naming convention. Unreal Engine has a very particular naming convention that it is recommended for Unreal Engine developers. This is a series of code analysis features that we're adding specifically for Unreal Engine. And here, as you can see, Lyra Replay Player Controller, it's suggested that, identifier does not follow the naming convention. That is because it needs an A for actor. So Visual Studio will tell you whether you give you a quick suggestion whether to fix it or not. So you can click on the light bulb, give you a preview what before and after will look like. If you click apply the naming convention, you'll start the rename process. Once that happens, they'll give you the preview of all the places that needs renaming. So if you have multiple places, let's say you started a class, but you forgot that letter, Visual Studio will now give you a hint as well as fix it for you. So if you click apply, then your naming convention is fixed. So as a side bonus, we do need an editor config in this. This is provided, we'll provide a link to you, but with this...
Oh, I do want to give a shout out just to the editor config window in general first, because I know not everyone's familiar with it, but it's a really cool file that lets you kind of tailor all the different conventions, naming conventions or tabs, etc. The list goes on for one specific solution that you have. So if you've got certain settings that you have for your whole Visual Studio experience all up, but you want to have specific ones dedicated towards a particular solution or project, then you should definitely create one of these files and have at it, because it's pretty nifty for that, and also helps you stay consistent if you're working either with just yourself or with the team. So check it out. Anyway, plug
exactly. Yeah, so we'll share the link to this editor config file in the description of the video. But this is also a great place for non-Unreal Engine developers. If you want to follow your own naming convention, you can create a file and Visual Studio will pick it up. So to enable this or switch the severity of the warnings, you can go to Tools, Options. The quick and easy way is just to search for linter and text editor C++ code style linter. Here you can see the naming convention experimental. So currently I have it set as a suggestion. You can either turn it off, or if you really want to conform to the naming convention, turn it on as an error so you can see it better. All right, so let's go back to code. This next feature I want to show you has been a very, very hot topic in the Unreal Engine community. That is Unreal Engine's macro indentation. So prior to this, I think I have it turned off. If you're just coding along and you're typing, for example, right after a reflection macro, Visual Studio will indent because Visual Studio previously did not understand Unreal macros. But now, if you go to Tools, Options, you can search for Unreal, and it's in C++ code style formatting Unreal Engine. Here we go. So if you check this box, and I think everyone should, Visual Studio will take special considerations as you're coding reflection macros. So with this applied, let's say you're typing along, Visual Studio won't indent the next line for you anymore. I think this is something that everyone has been waiting a long time. And for such a small change, we've been hearing a lot of positive feedback of, Visual Studio not indenting your code.
Yeah, It's the little things. Yeah, so it's nice to see that formatting conventions are being dictated by like just
Hmm.
what are the standards that users are doing on average, not just kind of going at random.
Yeah. And you can also, we heard even from some developers that this will take some time to get used to because they have grown the muscle memory needed to undo what Visual Studio does for you. So, you know, cross my fingers. Hopefully, for those of you out there that have this muscle memory baked in, that you'll enjoy this feature. You don't have to press those extra keystrokes anymore.
I can relate to that. I'm left-handed, but grew up with like right-handed scissors for the longest time until I finally got a pair of lefty scissors and had no idea what I was doing for the initial couple of months. It's like, how do I function
Exactly.
again?
So the next thing I want to show you is actually a preview feature. We have added a bunch of Unreal Engine macros to the snippets. So let's say you want to create a new U interface. We have two options. We have the regular U interface, and we have a exported version for plugins and modules. So let's complete this U interface by pressing Tab. And as you can see here, we'll generate a template for you. You can type in your name. So instead of my interface, pawn control, maybe. And then you can change the wildcards to whatever you choose to. So we have all the reflection macros available as snippets, but we also have some cool ones. So we heard about the need to um, perhaps enable or disable some code with or without the editor. So another cool things about a snippet is, let's highlight this block. Once it's highlighted, you go to snippet and you go to surround with. Once surround with, I know that let's make this with editor. So using the surrounds with snippet control, you can wrap your code around the block like for editor. Isn't that
That's
cool?
Yeah, that's really cool. So does that just work for the with editor scenario, or are there other scenarios where that where wrapping with the code snippet like that would work?
Yeah, it's not just with editor. There is some other macros that you can definitely surround your code with. Um, yeah, it's not just with editor.
Very exciting.
All right. So that was a great overview of all the Unreal Engine specific features that we have released. Now, I'm going to take you through some features that are very, very useful for Unreal Engine developers, but they're built with C++ in mind. So whether you're a regular C++ developer, if you're an Unreal Engine developer, or if you're working on your own proprietary engine, the next set of features should definitely help you increase your productivity.
Sweet. Oh, we do have one question from chat that may or may not be relevant, but just thought I'd ask just in case.
Mhm.
This is going back to being able to locate, in your case, blueprints. So I guess the question extends in this case to, can you find references for CSS classes? I feel like you can.
I don't believe that we currently have that capability.
Sweet. In that case, HQ Cart, put that in the developer community as an ask, in the event we don't already have it, because we
Exactly.
actually do read those. And a lot of these features do not happen without all of your feedback and checking out the developer community and stuff. So promise you it's not all robots over there.
Yeah, exactly. And once you open one, ask a friend, do they encounter the same issue? Have them upvoted. We also look at the upvotes too. So if you have colleagues or other like-minded individuals who have your same problem, share them the ticket. If they agree, they can upvote it so we can see better.
All right. Let's check out C++ stuff proper.
All right. So the next feature I want to show you is macro expansion. So once again, last time I was here with Leslie on the previous episode, we have showcased the ability to copy your expanded macros. You can either, or you can expand your macros inline. Now in 17.7, we have added a way for you to visualize expansion step by step. So if you click on the visualize expansion link here, oh, did the window pop up? Oh, there you go. So a window popped up that will show you the steps it takes to unroll this macro. You can press your left and right arrows that will show you step by step how Unreal Engine understands these macros. So, of course, this is not only for Unreal Engine. If you're writing macros in C++ code, this is a very, very useful feature for you.
Excellent.
Next,
just heads up, I did find our previous video, which is called Build Unreal Engine Games in C++ Faster. So just link that in the chat. So after this video, go check out that one if you want more.
Yeah, don't miss all the previous goodies that we have showcased.
Yep, don't sleep on the old stuff, just as good as the new stuff.
Yep. So another feature that I wanted to show is also in something you can see when you hover. This came from game developer feedback, but of course, once again, it is very useful for all C++ projects. As you can see here, we have showed class fstring. There are two new pieces of information that are shown here. You can now see the size is 16 bytes for this fstring, and the alignment to be 8 bytes. This can be especially helpful when you're debugging. So you can see the padding, you can see the alignment of your data structures, and when you're coding your game, like this feature will help you optimize your game. You can construct a more compact, a more cache-friendly layout to your game with the help of these things. So you don't have to remember how big the size of a class is.
Yay! It's not like school for you to do the math.
Right. It's really the little things. Just a little bit more information can help developers with their programming workflow.
Yeah, and I'd imagine it's especially that information is especially important for game development, right? Because games can get huge in terms of space and memory and stuff. So,
right,
yeah, that's good to know. So,
the last feature I want to show is we have improved Doxygen comments with regards to overloads. Previously, if you have a nice Doxygen comment like this, with a description and what the parameter does, Visual Studio will take consideration of your first overload. So as you can see here, you can see parameter, and there's 3 additional overloads. With this, the new feature added in, if you hover over additional overloads, we will search for when you initially define this in your Doxygen comment and pull information to this overloaded function here. So for example, if you go a little bit down, and you can see that it's actually using a ychar, but ychar is the second in the list. So once again, we took your feedback and made Visual Studio a little bit better by giving you the necessary information you need to help you with game development.
Excellent.
Yeah, Leslie. That's it for all the cool features.
That is really impressive. So again, a lot of this was based off of user feedback, right? So
Yeah.
like what was the most voted for of these features that you just shared?
Um. So I would say the macro indentation. That one technically wasn't voted a lot because people have been filing them constantly. Um, but in terms of um, community forums, Twitter mentions, just annoyance in general, that definitely made the biggest splash. So um, please, if you're annoyed with something, just let us know. Um, we will take consideration of all the feedback, both from the community, and we'll definitely go back to our Xbox studios and value their opinion too of how this how your suggestions can also impact them. With after we take all things in consideration, that's how we prioritize our backlog, and that's how we decide to ship cool features like the ones you have seen today.
Yeah. So this is wonderful to see, and I can't wait to see what's next. So, do you got any teasers that you can give about
Yeah.
what's next?
So you'll probably see me here in a few months with Leslie going over the next round of Unreal Engine integrations. Um, Here's something that I can tease out a little bit. Um, you can in newest preview, you'll be able to discover your Unreal Engine tests using the Text Explorer. So previously we have added support for Google and Boost, but now Unreal Engine is the third one in line. So you can open up Visual Studio and see all your tests. You can actually use this today. The only caveat is um, you can't use a installed version of the game. So if you grab Unreal Engine from the marketplace and you have a sample like mine, Lyra project, you won't be able to add tests, or you can add tests, but Visual Studio won't be able to pick it up. But if you're working on a AAA game, that's something you can go and test today. And of course, coming up in next previews, we'll also add support for different folder structures, whether you have an installed engine or not.
Excellent. So, sounds like the work is never stopping.
Nope, we're moving fast on this train. We're not stopping.
Great. And looks like you already got somebody sold on it. Someone already went ahead and installed the latest update. So yeah, if you haven't updated to 17.6 or especially 17.7, which just came out like 2 weeks ago at this point, then you're missing out. There's a lot of cool features in both the C++ space, especially as it relates to the Unreal Game Engine, as well as a bunch of other features that we talked about a couple weeks ago. And I will link to that in the show notes afterwards once this goes on demand. So make sure you've upgraded to the latest version of Visual Studio and share your feedback because, as always, we are reading them. We're not robots. We do read the feedback, and a lot of the features don't happen without your help. So, yeah, David, and other than that, can people reach out to you on the X, formerly known as Twitter space? I'm guessing as
Yes.
well.
Please reach me on X, formerly known as Twitter.
Sweet. Well, David, thank you so much for joining us as usual. Can't wait to see you again in a couple months, inevitably.
Yeah,
And oh,
glad to be here.
sweet. And just going to plug that blog post that we were talking about earlier, too, just in case you haven't checked that out yet. And thank y'all for watching. Thanks for your questions. And until next time, happy coding, y'all.
Bye, everybody.